You've noticed it, even if you never said it aloud. More men walking through life without a partner, and fewer women choosing the men who stand right in front of them. This isn't an accident. It's the quiet result of choices she makes long before you enter the picture. Choices shaped by psychology, reward, and a world that teaches her she can always decide later. Today, you'll understand why those choices now leave so many men single. At first glance, it feels personal. You might think it's you, that some flaw, some imperfection in your voice, your presence, your timing, left her uninterested. But the truth is far deeper. It's not merely about you. It's about the invisible currents that guide her decisions, currents most men cannot see. These currents are subtle. They flow in the spaces between words, in the pauses before she replies, in the way her attention drifts without warning. They are shaped by instinct, by societal signals, by the quiet lessons of her past. And the men who notice these currents, the ones who read between her gestures, begin to understand why so many others remain adrift, alone, or endlessly searching. You see, the average man approaches women with visible effort, with proofs, with explanations. He leans forward, he chases, he opens himself. And yet, she responds not always to the words, nor even to the gestures, but to the inner gravity he carries, the quiet, unshakable composure that signals he exists on his own terms. Most men never learn this. They mistake desire for attention, presence for influence, and certainty for control. The result is predictable, a slow drift into irrelevance, unnoticed, while she navigates her own decisions with a freedom that feels to you like rejection, but is in truth the natural order of her psychology. This is where the divergence begins, the line between men who are chosen and men who are left single. You have likely felt it before, a subtle distance, a pull that draws you forward and yet keeps her away. It is not a reflection of your worth, but of her reward system. Women are not capricious. They respond to patterns, to cues, to the unspoken signals that define your value before a word is spoken. If you fail to master yourself, to carry the quiet weight of presence, to navigate the invisible currents that run beneath every glance, every conversation, you are left outside the loop of her evaluation. Consider this. She is evaluating not just what you are, but who you are in the absence of her gaze. She is measuring the steady constancy of your mind, the clarity of your purpose, the weight of your attention, and the silence of your restraint. The man who collapses under the need for approval, the man who over-explains, the man who bends himself into her orbit, will always find himself on the periphery of her choice. The stoic man, by contrast, moves through life as though unobserved, yet commands attention simply by existing with certainty, his inner world unshaken, his value unquestioned. Every choice she makes, every subtle hesitation, every quiet delay, is shaped by forces you have only just begun to recognize. There are patterns, almost invisible, yet consistent. She is drawn to men who reflect power without aggression, confidence without need, mystery without falsehood. And when she chooses differently, or chooses not at all, it is a reflection of her own psychology, of the alignment between her instincts and the patterns she unconsciously seeks. Most men interpret this as rejection. You must learn to see it for what it truly is, clarity. She is not rejecting you personally. She is simply selecting according to the rules of attraction, rules most men never understand, because they have never learned to control themselves first. You might be thinking you could change this with action, with persistence, with explanation. But it will never work. Explanation cannot compete with presence. Persuasion cannot outpace instinct. The man who is left single is rarely the man who failed in effort, but the man who failed in mastery. Mastery of self, mastery of attention, mastery of the invisible dialogue that occurs before words are even spoken. When you begin to grasp this, when you begin to perceive the architecture beneath her decisions, you realize the profound truth. Being chosen is never about bending to her will. It is about commanding your own. The world may tell you otherwise. Society may whisper that success is in acquisition, in pursuit, in proving worth. But the psychology of choice is far older, far deeper. She will unconsciously weigh your constancy against the chaos of her environment, your clarity against the noise of life, your silence against the constant chatter of lesser men vying for approval. She is not cruel, nor capricious. She is precise. Every man left single is left so not by accident, but by invisible alignment or misalignment with the signals she seeks, the gravity she requires, and the unspoken challenge you must rise to meet. You are now beginning to see the contours of the problem, the unseen architecture of female choice. This is not theory. It is lived experience repeated across generations. Men who remain single are not necessarily unlucky. They are out of step with the deeper currents that govern attraction, respect, and the quiet power of presence. And yet, knowing this is the first step. Recognition of these forces does not guarantee success, but it does grant insight. Insight is power. And with insight comes the ability to navigate the invisible, the psychological, and the emotional with the discipline of a man who understands that life, attraction, and choice are ruled not by chaos, but by subtle law. In the next moments, you will learn how these currents operate, how her choices unfold long before your presence matters, and why the stoic man is never left single. You will begin to see the difference between the man who chases and the man who commands, between desire that fades and presence that endures. This is more than a discussion of relationships. It is an initiation into the rules of attraction and respect, a revelation of patterns so subtle, so powerful, that most men walk through life blind, never noticing why they are passed over. Your path forward is clear, though not easy. To understand her, you must first understand yourself. To master her psychology, you must first master your own presence. And to rise above the tide of men left behind, you must step into the quiet gravity of the man she cannot ignore. You have seen the men she passes over, the ones who display effort but lack presence, who speak loudly but resonate quietly, who chase attention but never command it. They are everywhere, occupying spaces that could have belonged to men who understand the subtle calculus of choice. They confuse movement for mastery, words for influence, and noise for power. And because they do, they remain single, not because she does not notice, but because she subconsciously measures, and they fail to meet the silent standard she instinctively recognizes. Contrast this with the stoic man, the one who walks into the room as though he owns nothing yet commands everything. He does not beg for attention. He draws it. He does not explain himself. He exists with certainty. Every gesture, every pause, every glance communicates a message stronger than words. He is enough in his own presence. She notices this, even if she cannot articulate why. She feels it before she names it. And it is in this space between feeling and understanding that the invisible selection occurs, quietly and often without words. The average man believes attraction is earned through demonstration, through proof, through effort, through the display of capabilities. But the stoic man understands it is not the act, but the essence. Presence outweighs persuasion. Silence outweighs argument. Calm outweighs chaos. When she makes her choices, she measures these qualities subconsciously. She senses stability, perceives control, and responds to the gravitas that emanates from a man who is aligned internally, regardless of the external circumstances. Every choice she makes is layered. She weighs potential, security, curiosity, and instinct simultaneously. She tests, she evaluates, she retreats. A man may interpret her hesitations as disinterest, her patience as a game, her silence as rejection. But these are misreadings of a deeper psychological framework. She is running an unconscious audit of alignment, of resonance, of emotional gravity. And those who fail are not rejected because they are unworthy. They are rejected because they have not yet mastered themselves in a way that meets her silent criteria. Consider the subtle signs. A glance that lingers slightly longer, a word she repeats, a hesitation before she decides. These are not random. They are signals, cues in a pattern. Most men overlook them entirely. They respond with effort rather than perception, with noise rather than gravity. They try to influence outcomes externally, rather than cultivating the inner qualities that naturally shape perception. The Stoic man, by contrast, does not act to manipulate. He simply exists in alignment with his values, letting her psychology unfold naturally around his presence. You must understand this. The difference between being left single and being chosen is rarely about charm, attractiveness, or social proof. It is about internal mastery projected outward. She perceives more than you think. Her mind registers stability, confidence, and calm authority before she registers words, gestures, or actions. Men who ignore this foundational truth chase external validation and end up lost in the background of her decision-making. Men who recognize it cultivate presence and quietly become unavoidable. Her choices are also temporal. She evaluates over time, not in a single encounter. Consistency matters. The man who remains stable in his purpose, unshaken by her hesitations, gradually increases in value in her perception. The man who bends, who chases, who demands, loses value with every effort that signals insecurity. The process is invisible, but it is constant, like gravity itself. She orients toward men who have integrated their desires and their control. She withdraws from men who remain in flux, who let external circumstances define their internal state. The psychology here is subtle, but profound. Women are conditioned to weigh opportunity, reward, and alignment simultaneously. They are not always conscious of it, but they are precise in the patterns they follow. Men who are left single are rarely oblivious. They are usually attempting to impose linear logic onto nonlinear emotional and instinctual processes. You cannot force alignment externally. You must cultivate the internal gravity that commands natural alignment. Now consider the unseen dynamics. She measures not just your actions, but your reaction to absence. Withdrawal is as telling as engagement. Indifference communicates more than effort. A man who pursues relentlessly signals neediness. A man who stands firm, calm, and observant signals control. She may leave, she may test, she may hesitate, but each choice is influenced less by circumstance and more by the internal signal you carry. And it is this internal signal that separates the men who are inevitably chosen from those left single. Every interaction is a silent test of alignment. She perceives subtle variations in tone, posture, eye contact, and focus. She senses emotional steadiness, anticipates consistency, and calculates reward unconsciously. Men who fail are those who react externally without cultivating internal stability. The Stoic man, by contrast, does not react. He responds. He measures himself against his own standard, not hers. This distinction is invisible to most, but decisive in her evaluation. It is here that the patterns become undeniable. Choice is not random. Attention is not meaningless. Hesitation is not weakness. They are all measured against a template of internal mastery that most men have never been taught to see. She is drawn toward gravitas, mystery, calm authority, and clarity. She drifts away from chaos, need, and noise. The consequences are clear. Men who lack internal alignment are left single, while men who embody presence become magnetic, often without effort. The world teaches men to chase, to prove, to explain, to manipulate outcomes. These lessons are shallow and ultimately self-defeating. The Stoic man learns the opposite. He cultivates the internal state that naturally influences the external world. This is not manipulation, it is mastery. It is the silent architecture of influence that determines whether a man is chosen or left single. Understanding this distinction is the first step toward transformation, the doorway into the deeper psychology that governs attraction and choice. And so, you begin to see the invisible lines, the architecture beneath her decisions. Men who remain single are not victims, they are misaligned. The Stoic man rises above, not through external effort, but through internal command. Her choices do not control him. They reflect the landscape in which his mastery is either visible or absent. This is the psychological reality. The patterns exist, they are precise, and only men who align themselves internally can navigate them successfully. As you prepare to understand the next layer, the philosophical and strategic depth behind her behavior, you must internalize one truth. Presence precedes selection, mastery precedes attraction, and understanding precedes choice. Those who grasp this will never truly be left single, because they operate on a level that transcends effort and speaks directly to the currents of her psychology. Now that you see the invisible lines, the subtle currents that shape her choices, it is time to understand the deeper philosophy that governs them and how you can rise above the men left behind. The truth is not found in pursuit or effort, but in mastery of self, in the quiet cultivation of presence that resonates before a word is spoken. She is drawn not to what you chase, but to what you embody. The Stoic man understands that attraction is a reflection, a mirror of the internal state projected outward. To influence the external, you must first command the internal. Every hesitation she exhibits, every pause before a decision, every shift of attention is not rejection, it is measurement. She is evaluating the strength, stability, and gravity of the man before her. And it is in these silent assessments that men are chosen or left single. Most men react. They argue, they persuade, they explain. The Stoic man observes. He does not interfere with the natural rhythm of her evaluation. He maintains internal authority, letting her psychology reveal itself without obstruction. This distinction is subtle, but it is decisive. Consider the power of absence. A man who is always present, always seeking, always available, communicates dependence, need, and uncertainty. She perceives it subconsciously, and her attention wanes. The Stoic man, however, operates from constancy, not obsession. He withdraws when appropriate, not to punish, but to signal independence and internal control. This is not a game, it is recognition of the laws of attraction that govern female psychology. Her choices respond to signals of competence, stability, and inner authority. The man who understands this becomes magnetic without effort. Her decision-making is both instinctive and strategic. She measures curiosity, reward, and alignment simultaneously. She is aware of attraction, but she is also testing, exploring, and evaluating the architecture of your presence. The average man interprets this as inconsistency or unfairness. The Stoic man reads it as information, a pattern to observe, not a problem to fix. He understands that perception precedes persuasion. You cannot create attraction externally if it does not originate internally. There is a deeper truth here, one most men never grasp. Her choices are a reflection of your alignment with reality, with yourself, and with the world around you. When you operate from need, chaos, or external validation, you misalign with the currents that naturally draw her attention. When you cultivate clarity, discipline, and internal sovereignty, you become the gravitational center in which her psychology orients itself. The choice, though seemingly hers, is a response to your presence, your mastery, and the energy you project. Observe how patterns unfold over time. She tests, she retreats, she evaluates. The Stoic man does not flinch. He does not attempt to accelerate the process or explain the unseen rules. He maintains equilibrium, knowing that her psychology will unfold in its own time. The man left single is the man who attempts to control her choices, who misreads hesitation as denial, and who confuses attention for attraction. The man chosen is the one who has aligned himself internally, who projects authority through calm presence, and whose value is unwavering regardless of her immediate response. This is the intersection of psychology and philosophy. Marcus Aurelius observed that the external is beyond your control. Only your mind and your conduct are within your domain. Seneca reminded us that the wise man is undisturbed by circumstance, anchored in virtue. Epictetus taught that perception shapes reality and mastery begins within. The Stoic man applies these principles to modern female psychology. He understands that her choices reflect her evaluation of his mastery, not his efforts. He operates from a position of alignment, not reaction. Machiavelli's shadow informs this insight further. He observed the subtle dynamics of influence and perception. Power lies not in forcing outcomes, but in shaping perception invisibly. The Stoic man embodies this naturally. He does not manipulate. He exists in alignment with internal truth, which compels respect and draws attention without effort. Her choice, though hers alone, becomes predictable in the presence of mastery. The laws of attraction are quiet, invisible, but unyielding. They favor the man who understands the architecture beneath her decisions. Now reflect on this. Every man left single has missed one of these lessons, often unconsciously. He has allowed need, emotion, or distraction to cloud his internal alignment. He has attempted to influence externally what could only be mastered internally. The Stoic man, however, remains firm. He does not compete for attention. He radiates authority. He does not seek approval. He cultivates presence. He does not respond impulsively. He perceives, waits, and allows her psychology to reveal itself. This is the difference between being overlooked and being chosen, between mediocrity and mythic resonance. Her choices, then, are not arbitrary. They are precise, subconscious evaluations of alignment. Every hesitation, every glance, every subtle gesture communicates a truth about you before she speaks a word. The Stoic man reads these cues without judgment, without reaction, and with understanding. He sees the patterns, he respects the rhythms, and he projects internal mastery that cannot be ignored. This is not luck. It is knowledge applied consistently, a philosophy lived daily, a presence cultivated through discipline and insight. By the end of this understanding, you begin to see why some men remain single while others are chosen effortlessly. It is not charm, nor status, nor effort. It is internal mastery projected outward, clarity aligned with presence, and perception calibrated to the invisible currents of her psychology. When you operate in this way, attraction becomes a natural consequence, not a forced outcome. She may test, she may hesitate, but she cannot ignore a man whose internal gravity resonates with her instincts, curiosity, and unconscious evaluation. The path forward is clear. To navigate the currents of her choices, you must master yourself first. Align your mind, your presence, and your emotional gravity. Let your value radiate through calm authority, measured action, and unwavering clarity. Withdraw when necessary, act when necessary, and observe always. By internalizing these truths, you step into the domain of men who are inevitably chosen, who understand the architecture of female psychology, and who operate on a level beyond ordinary effort. And as this understanding settles within you, you will notice a transformation. Interactions that once confused or frustrated now reveal patterns. Hesitations become signals. Choices become predictable. She is not a mystery to manipulate, but a mirror reflecting your mastery. You will walk through life with an internal gravity that commands attention, draws respect, and aligns naturally with the women whose choices reflect your presence. The men left single remain outside this pattern, while you, having internalized mastery, stand within it. This is the final revelation. Her choices are silent, precise, and subconscious. They favor the man who is aligned, present, and masterful. They leave behind those who are unsteady, reactive, and uncalibrated. By living this philosophy, by understanding her psychology, and by cultivating internal gravity, you ascend beyond the ordinary, stepping into a reality where being chosen is no longer chance, but the natural consequence of presence, discipline, and insight.